Neither should you. We define bodybuilding as untested bodybuilding, in particular the NPC, so the National Physique Committee, which is the amateur division, and then the IFBB Pro, which is the pro division. There's been several dozen people over the last decade who have died either prepping for shows, during shows, or after shows. Compare this to probably the most violent sport everyone knows, mixed martial arts, so things like the UFC. You know how many people have died in the UFC over the last decade? Zero. You know how many people have died in MMA in the last 20 or 30 years in sanctioned events? I believe it's around 7. So you have 1,000% more deaths in bodybuilding than in mixed martial arts, where the goal is to bludgeon your opponent to death, and no one's raising an eyebrow. I remember hearing a few years ago about Boston Lloyd because I saw him on YouTube, Dallas McCarver several years before that. The list goes on and on of bodybuilders dropping like flies. And immediately the obvious thing would be cardiomyopathy, the enlargement of the heart, people using performance-enhancing drugs, so on and so forth. And that's definitely the large elephant in the room, but there's another more nefarious reason why it is more prominent recently, and that has to do with something called diuretics. We had an episode recently of Iron Culture with Dr. Escalante, who is a bodybuilder. He's a professor at California State. He's also an athletic trainer, which is an allied health professional. And what he did, he volunteered himself to go to these bodybuilding shows. He would measure their blood pressure, look at symptoms for dehydration, and treat some of the bodybuilders that had potentially interventions that were necessary where it could have led to either a cardiac event or so on and so forth.
So basically your blood's going to be a little bit thicker than most individuals. And then now you're going to dehydrate yourself to make maybe go down those extra 10, 15 pounds over the 24 hours. And then now you're going to have basically some acute erythrocytosis.
The rampant use of diuretics has exploded in the last decade. A lot of the things that people are using, such as those diuretics that are dangerous, instead, nothing has been done. And why is that? It is because the culture that has been created by the largest organizers, the IFBB Pro, is not pro-athlete. It's not for the athletes. It's all about monetization and profiteering. So now we have evidence of favoritism occurring within the organization. And if you think for a second that this only occurs amongst the women, you're out of your mind. And that is because of the subjectivity inherent within bodybuilding that allows some of this bullshit to happen. And here's exactly what I mean. In powerlifting, 500 pounds, it's 500 pounds. You're gonna deadlift the weight or you're not gonna deadlift the weight. People can debate the strictness of some of the judging, and there is still that element, but we know what the weight is. In bodybuilding, there has been the ever-shifting standard throughout time. Let's take a look at the Mr. Olympia from 1975, 1985, 1995, 2005, and 2015, and we'll see different types of physiques, the definitions of aesthetics, proportions, symmetry, on that many competitions, there's been controversies in terms of the placings, and we can't help but wonder if that hasn't been influenced by favoritism, that nepotism that we spoke about before, so an organization where there's no accountability, so they put forth their favorite people, and that's who chooses, or that's who they select to win.
You always keep giving it to the same guy, to me, but if I keep Dorian,
it creates a culture of compliance, and I've said this before, people that are willing to do whatever it takes to advance their career. Positive feedback loops of them being rewarded for certain behaviors. So they're only gonna echo what the owners want them to echo, and that is the truly tragic part. He didn't find personally aesthetic in bodybuilding where he joked about the bubble guts.
Since you complain my belly, I sleep and only think, I'm not talking about my belly.
But what I want to do is I want to keep the traditional kind of a physique alive. The classic physique is one way of doing that.
There are people that can make change, and as consumers, we use our dollar in a capitalist society in order to vote, so we could choose what we support and what we don't support. We can support the athletes. Is that emphasis on self-improvement, doing it for yourself for the right reasons, and doing it for a long period of time, so you can bring about that personal change that really gives a sense of internal fulfillment. It really kind of corrupt a natural pursuit. It really kind of muddies the water or poisons the well, and it's a tragic, very sad thing to see. We really think about what we're watching, what we choose to watch, and what we choose then to support. That was the purpose of this video right here. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know your thoughts down below. And I'm serious, Arnie, I know you're gonna watch this. Like the damn video, and I'll see all you guys, my rascals, in that next one.